if I am live on my page here, you know that I'm not being rude. I'm simply checking on my guided PR page. So this is the Peacock Challenge day number 4. Today we're going to have a very special guest. I know you all want to know how you can get featured, how journalists choose people, and we're going to have a very special guest talking about that today. So thank you those who have joined us in the past 3 days. Yesterday was our biggest day ever, so we had about 100 people watching us live, and some people took the challenge. Some people are very shy. They don't want to share their names and where they're from or their website. So make sure that if you are watching us and if you are there, please let me know who you are. And remember, Danielle will be live. So Danielle will say hello in a minute on the chat. She will share with you Elisa hello, and she will be the one who will be getting the names and websites and putting the wheel of fortune so you can win a prize at the end of our Facebook Live. Okay, I can see there are some people watching us already, so make sure that you put your name and your website in the comments. So let me just go into the chat here very quickly. And I can see Dexter made a comment, looking forward to it. Very good. So Dexter has been featured a few times. Yeah, he was our guest on Tuesday. He is a former QVC TV presenter, and he was talking to us all about how you can sell using videos and all the types of videos and how long videos are and how short and what works and what doesn't. Okay, so let's start with our presentation today. So you remember, I always talk a little bit about the story of guided PR. And let me get into my presentation here and click on present. It's all sorts of things that happen behind the scenes so you guys can see. Let me just make sure that you can see my screen over there. Okay, so Dexter was very quick. Not only he put his website, which is dextermoscow.uk, which is his real name, he also added his email address so if you want to get in contact with him. That's what I like. I like when people really share. Okay, so it's the wrong agenda. Let me just go back here. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I'm going to remove that from the screen. The joys of live television. Let me just stop this one here and make sure that I get the right presentation. We had, just to remind you what we had so far. So on Monday, we had all about writing your bio and send to journalists. And then we had the challenge and we had a winner. And on Tuesday, we had all about videos. So if you wanted to learn the videos is still live. We said we were going to delete the videos after 24 hours, but we received emails and messages of people asking, please leave it so we can watch. So we are going to leave them at least for the next week so you can watch the videos. Monday, it was all about writing your bio. Tuesday was all about, I don't know if you guys remember. If you're watching, do you remember what Tuesday was about? Do you remember? Tuesday was about videos. And Wednesday was super cool as well. Wednesday was all about, do you guys remember? Can you write what was Wednesday? It was just yesterday. Do you remember? Okay, so for those that don't remember, Wednesday was about public speaking. Yeah, so it was about you guys losing the fear of public speaking. Okay, so and was with Chris Murphy. He won Toastmasters in the UK, and he was telling us all about how to lose your fear of public speaking, how you do public speaking even online, which I thought was very good as well to learn. Okay, so and today we have here, let me just go back on the screen to make sure that I have now the right agenda. Let me go back and put here, share my screen. There we go. And then I'm going to my presentation. And you should be seeing my presentation in a minute. So remember, there is the Peacock Challenge, and the Peacock Challenge is starting now. Write your name and your website if you were there with us. Share with us. You know the trick. You have to show up and show off. That's why we are here, okay? It's all about becoming more visible. Now, and then what you do is you put your name, your website there. Have you you learned today? What have you learned today? Sorry, I misspelled that. Well, I put the wrong word. And then we have Ask the Journalist, which we're going to have the fantastic Emma Sheppard. So, and I'm going to tell you about her in a minute, and then we have an exercise in QA, and then we have a challenge. Okay, so remember that we talked about the owls, yes? Owls and peacocks. So remember, when we talk about owls is when, if you are an owl, that means you are high skilled and you are very intelligent, but it's hard to find. Yes, so that's why the owl is intrigued, is almost like there is a question mark in the face of this owl. And I tell the owls, you need to become peacocks, right? So when I tell the owls you need to become peacocks, this is the reaction that I get from the owls. There we go. The owls get scared. It's like, what? Why do I need to become a peacock? That's what you need to do. This is what you need to become, okay? This means that you need to show your peacock tails. I think you can see, oh, you can't see my presentation. There we go. Now you can see. Now you can see the peacock. Is going to show in a second on screen because I think there is a delay there. Yes. Okay, so this is what you can see. Sorry you missed the beginning of the presentation. It wasn't showing annoyingly, but never mind. That's the joys of running something live. You just can't go back. So you become a peacock because you need to become more visible and more credible. And becoming more visible is all about being featured in the media. And for you to be featured in the media, you need to start sending your comments and you need to have journalists, okay? That's how it works. Everything started 2 years ago when I launched a high-profile club, used to be a high-profile club. I launched with a big event in the House of Parliament. We had about, I can't remember if it was 6 or 8, between 6 and 80 entrepreneurs. They were there and it was a big event. It was fantastic. And that's what the event it is today. So High Profile Club became Guided PR, which is now a fully automated platform. And this is what happens when you create something that becomes memorable. The story of the Owls to Peacocks became a book. And I launched this book online, and it's called From Owls to Peacocks, 50 High-Profile Entrepreneurs, which is the story of the first 50 clients. Now, would you like to be featured in a book? Yes or no? Would you like to see your story featured in the book? Okay, so if you do, put a comment there. Just say yes, so I know that you want to be featured. That means you are becoming an owl. If you really want to start sharing, join our community, Guided PR on Facebook, Guided PR on YouTube, and we are Guided PR on Instagram. Why? Because there is someone else already with that name, and I was very annoyed when I was doing my branding. So you have to become creative, and we are Guided PR. Now, one of the things is we get on the first page of Google. Some people say, how can you promise that? Well, let me tell you. Because when you get featured, that means the publications will publish your name and your comments, and you're going to be found on the first page of Google. And this is how it works. Let me give you an example. So this is Naeem Arif. So Naeem joined us about 2 years ago, and we have been doing PR for Naeem. And Naeem is brilliant because when we say dedicate your time for the media, okay, so every time he was available, every time there was something that came to the platform, he would make himself available for an interview, to write, so he was always there. So we got him over 30 articles online. Either he wrote an article, or he contributed to an article, or he was invited, or it was like 3 tips on this, or write 500 words on that. It was amazing. So if you go on Google today, he's one of the best case studies that we have, because if you type his name, Naeem Arif, this is what happens. Number one is he was on the cover of High Profile magazine. Now, just so you understand how this works, is when you are on the page, on the first page, like of Google, but you are on the cover of a magazine. If you type his name, this is what appears. This is exactly what you see on Google if you do Naeem Arif. Now, if you look here on the left side, it has all the links, and then you will see that the first one is his LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great for SEO. Make sure that you have your LinkedIn. The second one is all about, so the second one is High Profile magazine. So that's how important it is to get your name in publications. And the third one is Forbes. We also helped Naeem to become a Forbes contributor. So he writes articles for Forbes now. Isn't he amazing? This is what happens if you join Guided PR. You may end up in Forbes as well. Now, one of the things that is super incredible is you can see this description on the right side, which is a description about Naeem. Okay, sorry, this is the link of High Profile magazine. And that is the link. So that little thing on the left there, okay, is a description from the magazine as well. So that's how powerful a magazine can do. So if you see the description about him, is because of High Profile magazine, okay? Now, there are lots of things here. So for example, you have there, if you type about books, you can see all his books, okay? That's what appears as well. Which is this page here. So he takes the top 5 or 6 because he wrote a few. And here you can see his videos. So you can see all the videos that Naeem has recorded. So you can see, for example, the first one is an interview with another Guided PR member. So William is one of our clients, and he runs a podcast, and he also interviewed some of the clients. So it's amazing for your profile, okay? Make sure you get invited to podcasts, you give interviews, and you get your name out there. Now are the books. So I thought I was looking at the books. So Naeem is a customer service expert, and he wrote a few books about that. And if you Google him, this is what you can see. He's on the first page of Google for his photos, for the links. So the thing is, when people Google him, he finds lots of articles, Forbes, High Profile. So that gives him a lot of credibility. This is what you want. And this is why you need to help journalists, because journalists will mention your name and your comments, and then you get featured. For the journalists, it's great because the journalists can get expert comments. So you send to them, and obviously it's free of charge. It's an exchange. You provide free content, and they can give you the visibility that you want, okay? When you go to High Profile, sorry, I keep saying High Profile because for 2.5 years I keep saying High Profile, Guided PR. When you go to Guided PR platform, you can find things like Forbes. I gave this example before. Type Forbes, and then you'll see that several Forbes journalists are using the platform. They are adding their requests there, and they put the deadline. So you have to be quick. Make sure that you search, and then you see what is the deadline that the journalist needs from you, okay? Then there will be a description of the expertise they're looking for. If you have that expertise, what you do is you click on respond to this request, and then there'll be an option there for you to write your comments. Super important, super quick, super fast, okay? Then the journalist will receive your bio. So you can see my bio there with an email. Obviously, the journalist doesn't receive your email, but receives your name, your photo, your bio, and your comments. And then the journalist will make a decision if he wants to use your name and your comments as well, okay? Now, if you don't know how to write, don't worry. That's what we are here for. We will teach you. We have tutorials, and those tutorials are, for example, how to submit an article to Harvard Business Review or to Fast Company. These are tutorials with videos, so there are webinars there, and also a full description on how to write to these publications. So if you never wrote before, don't worry. We are here to guide you. That's why it's called Guided PR, because we guide you on how to become more visible, more credible, and more influential. It's a two-sided market, so we are helping you with that, and also we are helping journalists because it's much quicker for journalists to find experts in our platform, and it's free for journalists to use. Okay, now what are the colors of your feathers? That is the thing that I want to ask you. Naeem is now super well known. He is now top when it comes to customer service. So if you put Naeem Arif customer service, he's number one, and that's what you're going to find about him. Now, what do you want to be known for? I know Janet, she's online. I'm looking at my phone here. Let me just put my phone there so it doesn't look that I'm looking down all the time. Janet said that she wants to be known as a sales trainer. I know Sasha Bushby, I got it right today. So is Sasha jewelry, sustainable jewelry? Is that right? Remind me if it is. What are the colors of your feathers? Okay, now it's the time to have our fantastic guest here. I think the first time I met Emma, it was about 2 years ago. She was also giving a talk in one of her events, and she is here today. So what I'm going to do now is, well, just before I bring her, she writes for lots and lots of places. I know that she writes regularly for The Guardian, but she's written for Wired, the BBC, Stylist, and the list goes on. There's a big list there on her LinkedIn profile. If you want, we can share your LinkedIn profile. I don't know if you want to do that, Emma, let me know, but I will bring you on the screen. So I'm going to remove this now. And she's at home, like everyone else, working from home. Let me just get this. Okay, let me see. Let me now bring Super Emma Sheppard on screen. Hello, Emma. How are you?
Thank you. How are you doing?
Good. How is lockdown treating you?
Yeah, it's okay. The heavens have just opened though, so the garden is getting a good water.
Well, yes. So do you prefer to write? Because I know obviously when you're writing, does it matter if you are surrounded by people, like if you're in The Guardian, there are lots of journalists, or you prefer to be quiet at home? I know you have a son, right?
Yeah,
So
he's
just always quiet.
2 months old, so I write when he's asleep.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I prefer quiet. I often plug in actually to like piano music. I
Oh,
don't like music with any words when I'm writing, but if it's kind
I
of
see. It doesn't distract
yeah,
you.
if it's just acoustic instrumental, I quite like that, and it
Very
just blocks
good.
everything else out.
Okay, brilliant. Now, we are here because we have lots of entrepreneurs watching us. And I know you've written about small business for The Guardian before as well. So it's always the question that never dies for entrepreneurs. How do I get chosen by a journalist like you? How do my comments get picked up? Can you please let us know?
Yeah, it can feel quite tricky, I think, from the other side. The biggest tip I think I can give is it really helps if you know what journalists are working on. So you mentioned there that Guided PR have a journalist service, so they can send out requests if they're looking for particular case studies. That's great. And also on Twitter, we often use the hashtag journo request. So
Sure. Yeah.
lots of journalists are on Twitter, and there's often case study requests going around. And I think that is often a better way than just say cold emailing a journalist and saying, can you write about me? You know, I've done this thing, or I thought this was quite interesting. Why don't you cover it? I think if a journalist is actively looking for case studies, your chances of getting picked are much higher.
Sure. So when there is a journalist request, and let's say, especially if you say that you write for a top publication like The Guardian or BBC or Forbes, everybody wants to be there because they know the exposure they can get, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you get bombarded with emails. So let's say they know you put that a request in the platform and you said, I'm looking for a female entrepreneur, because sometimes there are very specific requests, right? So I'm looking for a female entrepreneur who would like to share how they balance motherhood and business. Let's get an example like that. And you are writing that. Now, if you receive 100 emails with all different answers, and you only need, I don't know, 2 or 3, how do you choose them?
It's a really good question. So we are looking for a good mix. So we don't want 3 people all saying the same thing. We want to show a breadth of experience to cover the topic really well. So unfortunately, if you are the female entrepreneur looking to talk about that topic, you don't have an oversight over what other people are saying. So what I would say is it really helps to include a few points about what you would cover if you were chosen. I quite often get people replying to requests that I put out just saying, I'd love to be included, let me know when you want to talk. That doesn't give me any
it's a waste of time, right?
So how do I know that is the person for my piece? So I wouldn't say write pages and pages, but it's a really good idea to include maybe 3 or 4 points that you want to say. Go into a little bit of detail, like make it quite interesting, so that I know what kind of shape my piece is going to take if I include you. I think as well, if you can make yourself available, sometimes we're working on quite tight turnarounds, so it's worth putting a line in the piece, maybe saying, I can speak this week, happy to jump on the call, speak this week. Also, sometimes we're looking for you to have images as well. So if you've had some great pictures taken, that's worth mentioning in the email as well. But yeah, I think also don't be afraid to have an opinion. Like, we're looking for someone quite quotable. We're thinking about headlines all the time. So in those few notes that you include in your email, try to make it opinionated, interesting. Think about what you would, obviously don't make up an opinion, but if you were reading someone else,
don't be on the fence, right? So it's like, I don't have a strong opinion for yes or for no.
We're looking for something that's going to be interesting to read, not something quite middle road and
I see. Bland, because you don't want bland. Okay. So what do you think? So one of the things that we advise, and let's see if you agree with this. So for example, in the platform, we ask our members to send their comments, and to speed up the process, we teach them how to write their bio, which is 50 words. So just to make sure that if you read those 50 words, and normally we put some ingredients. When my ingredients are, if they have worked or they have clients who are big brands, if they won awards, how many years of experience, almost like one line of each. So you have that idea why they are sending those comments to you. Do you think this is good? Around 50 words, too much, too little?
No, I think 50, 2 to 3 sentences, 50 words, that sounds about right. And I think it's worth including something like that just at the end, because we want to know why you're an authority in talking about this subject. I mean, maybe less so with our example of motherhood and business, although you might be interested to know how many kids someone has and how long they're running their business for. But especially if we're thinking about something that you mentioned customer service before, what experience they have in that area, or we might be writing something about cash flow, and it could be so-and-so's grown their business from X% to this percent, year on year growth. I think that's...
Well, what do you prefer? Do you want to read the comment first and then the bio, or would you prefer the bio and then the comment?
The comment first and then the bio, I think.
Comment in the bio. Okay. And because you mentioned, I made some notes while you were speaking, just to make sure that I don't lose. So when it comes to photos, do you prefer a professional portrait photo or you prefer like an action, maybe they're in the office, or if they have a, I don't know, if they have a food business, they're cooking. What is best for you?
So definitely, professional headshots, definitely good to have on tap. And I'd say also make sure they're portrait and landscape, because often people want landscape for their
Ah,
businesses. Um, and
uh-huh.
then I think it's good to have more lifestyle shots, which are the shots in action. If your business is something that is photographable, if you like, if it's just you
Yeah.
sitting at a desk pretending to type, probably wouldn't be as interested in something like that. But if you've got a food business, or you can,
Yeah, flower
or
business, things like that.
flowers,
I can make that.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
I see.
cakes, or
Yeah.
uh, then
Yes.
yes, definitely have some lifestyle.
I see. So I have another question as well, because I ask people to send me in advance just to make sure that we know. Some people say, "Oh, I don't want to be featured when people are talking about Brexit, or or journalists are writing about coronavirus, or they are writing about." So, but I always advise them the opposite. If journalists are writing about that, and if you can put your expertise, and if they need your expertise, no matter what they're talking about, any publicity is good publicity. Do you agree or
I mean,
disagree?
I definitely agree. Maybe I'm biased because I'm the journalist trying to fill my article, but I especially with coronavirus, it's been all we've been talking about for the last 6 months. And I've written some quite interesting pieces over quite recently. So one piece was about how businesses were pivoting in quite interesting ways. So it was quite an uplifting piece. They had restaurants, or they were supplying high-end hotels, and all that business dropped off, and then they pivoted very quickly to a direct-to-consumer model, or went online for the first time. And I think those kind of pieces can be really uplifting. It doesn't have to be
It's a positive message, isn't it? So they managed to turn around, and they're flourishing as
and that's been
businesses.
what people have wanted to read about. There's been a lot of quite depressing stuff in the news lately, and so people have been, I think, definitely publications have been looking for a bit more of a positive take on where can we go from here. And
Right.
everyone
Right.
people are struggling, but people are also being very inventive, and there's a lot of opportunity that can come out of these types of situations as well. And Brexit,
Sure. Okay.
yeah, similar.
Yeah.
I think people want to read about Brexit because it was so uncertain, and it makes us feel a bit less alone if we know what someone else is doing and thinking, and how they are preparing for things to change. And maybe the human race is inherently nosy, but we just want to know what other people are doing, I think.
True. Yeah, I think it's more about, it's like the sense of belonging, isn't it? People like that sense of, okay, what is happening? Am I the only one? And am I the only one suffering? And I think as you read the news, then you realize, like, oh my God, if they're writing about this, it's probably because there are lots of people going through the
Yeah,
same.
and people are desperately seeking out information. Publications write things
Mm,
because they want people to read them. And that's another
mm.
point about how do you get featured in the press? It's about an interesting story. And if someone doesn't think that their audience are going to be interested, then they're not going to run it.
I see. So we have a few questions here. I know there is one. I'm just looking. What about radio and TV? So Emma is specifically, you're right,
Yeah,
right? So I don't know if you have done radio TV
radio and
now.
TV, but I do think there's quite a lot of opportunities around podcasts at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't run podcasts, but I see a lot of people looking for guests and things like that. So if you're not on top of what podcasts are in perhaps your industry area, I'd definitely say it's worth doing a bit of research and reaching out to the producers and saying, happy to come on for a mention of my business. That's really good.
sure,
And local
sure.
radio
There is another
are open
question.
to guests as
Sorry,
well. Sorry, I was just saying
sorry.
local radio, I think are quite
Good
open to
point.
guests.
Yeah, yeah. They're open to that. There is another question here, Emma. What is the best method to get an article to a publication? In news jacking a great means to get your expertise in the media, which I think is the hook that we talk about, right? I think
Yeah,
that's
definitely. A timely news hook is great if you can find one. It's definitely always will.
Can you give an example of like a recent news hook? Someone sent you maybe an email or a tweet and you thought actually, and then you got in contact with the business owner. Was there anything that you can
It's
think
all
of?
been coronavirusy at the moment. But I did see a fellow journalist the other day. She had written a piece earlier this year about being around Mother's Day, about not being a mother to a child, but feeling like she was a mother to her dog. And the piece got held because coronavirus happened. And then
Yeah,
she saw a release the other day about research around how much it costs to have a pet. And so she
yeah.
really got in touch with the editor and said, "Can we? I'm happy to sort of redo my piece around this news hook." And she said, "Yeah," and it was published. So that's
Oh,
an
brilliant.
example of how
Okay.
we are looking for news hooks all the time as well.
Okay. And there was going to be, let me just say, because we have another, now people are getting excited as you talk. I can see they're all asking questions, which is brilliant. So how can we approach journalists? They generally charge you to get featured. Not
No,
journalists,
we
though.
don't.
No, no,
I'd
yeah,
say if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. All journalists are on, well, most of them are on Twitter. Um, so that's
yeah,
a really good start. Even if their direct messaging isn't open, often they'll have contact details in their feed or in their bios. And also, if you can be a little bit clever and work out if they're on staff, you can work out the format of the email addresses at that
yeah.
publication, and then you can work out what their email
Yes.
address is.
Yes, we do a lot of hacking like that to invite a journalist to join Guided PR so they can put.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of searching
yeah.
online. Yeah. So there is another one here. I think she probably missed the beginning, but what images can you use if you don't have products? I think it's the photos that we discussed earlier that you mentioned.
So if your headshot doesn't have to be boring, maybe you run your business in a really beautiful place. I had someone from Devon a couple of weeks ago send me some great headshots, and the sea was behind them, which I thought was really lovely. So it doesn't have to be really corporate. You don't have to be in a suit. Like, maybe think a little bit more about the setting, make it quite colourful. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, it's hard if you don't have products, if you're a services-based business. But I think probably just think a bit creatively about the setting that your headshots are in.
So let me ask an example just to see if that works. For example, I know there is someone here, Janet, and she's a sales trainer. So let's say if there is ever an article, and if she sends you, because she's a sales trainer, if she sends you a photo of her laughing with some notes, do you think it's too much, or it depends on where it's going? If it was kind of because I had this before. I had a client that she had a photo of her she was sitting inside the sink,
Right.
which I said, do not send this to journalists. And she's like, well, but it's part of my personality. And it actually got published once, but then, 3 or 4 times it got refused.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Does it depend of the publication? Is it the journalist to choose that? Or can you?
So generally the journalist won't choose it because the journalist won't be uploading the story. It will happen by the picture desk or the editor. But what I would say in your photos is you can be a little bit creative, but try and not be too polarizing. So maybe don't take too many risks, because you are paying a photographer like a little bit of money to take these, and you want to have photos that you can use. And yeah, I'd agree. Maybe for the one person that likes the picture in the sink, there might be 3 or 4 that don't, and that's not a great return on your investment.
Okay. So I think, let me just see if there is any more here. Yeah, let me go back because I have a few while people are thinking. When it comes to just going back, because I had a lot of emails from clients saying, when they send comments, and let's say, going back to that comment that I made, that you might get 100 emails, right, with all those answers. Do they get completely wasted? Then people can use those comments again, or will the journalist ever go back? If they may be writing, like for example, if you always write about small business, I know there'll be different topics, but do you ever go back to previous emails to see if there was anything that was good
Yeah,
or
I
not?
do. I probably wouldn't use the comments that had already been sent in, because the topic would probably be a little bit different. But I definitely, I have a folder in my inbox called Interesting Case Studies, and if there's anyone that I haven't been able to use, but I think it sounds like a really interesting business, I drag it in there. And yeah, I definitely, if you've made an impression on me, I definitely will keep you in mind. For an upcoming piece, if I can use you somewhere.
Oh, now the question then is, what can we do to impress you or to impress all
I mean,
journalists?
I think it's just about having those really interesting insights. And what if you're just banging the drum about your business? You are really passionate about your business. You have to be. It's your lifeblood. You're doing it 24/7. That isn't necessarily always what then translates into a piece, right? So we're hoping that you're going to think a little bit more wider. What can you speak to? Perhaps you've raised some investment, you've done a crowdfunding round. Perhaps you mentioned before you're a female entrepreneur, and I don't know, you've found it more difficult to get investment maybe than your male co-founder did. Maybe you run the business with your wife, and you can talk about couples running businesses together. Try and think more broadly about what you can speak to, and really there will always be a plug for your business if you can get into those other stories as well. So your aim doesn't always have to necessarily be getting into a piece that talks about sales training, for example.
Sure, sure. Okay. So we have a question here. So I'm writing about the impact that the death of a relative during Corona can have on people's mental health based on my experience of how to overcome such a loss. Is this of interest? I'm not sure if this is a question or a pitch.
I'm really sorry to hear that you lost someone, first of all. Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is something that lots of people are dealing with right now, and I think a well-written piece would definitely be of interest to.
Yes. So this is Dex Moscow. He's actually wrote a book. I think it's called The Voyage Without My
Yeah,
Father. And I think it's talking about the hook we were discussing earlier, wasn't it?
yeah.
So especially now with Corona, is being very difficult for everyone. So this is good, Dex.
There are some places that will take first-person pieces. Like I know the Independent does a series called Indie Voices, um, and as you well know, Forbes, take comment pieces. I think Huffington Post do as well. So it's worth having a look at those sorts of places where you can submit something that they can publish without the need for a journalist in the middle.
Yes, yes. So we actually have lined up a webinar on Huffington Post and BuzzFeed, because they receive a lot of articles that personal opinions and all that. And just before do we have any questions? So we have maybe two more questions in terms of personal, because people sometimes they get really scared of giving their personal opinion. In case it backfire, or they say, oh, my opinion is too strong, or is too this or too that, and then they get worried, and then they don't provide something that, as you said, if it's too blunt, then you don't get it, right? So what would you advise people if they think, oh, it might be too strong, or maybe not PC? What would you say?
Probably pick your outlet wisely. Pick a publication that aligns with what your views are, and you'll probably find a sympathetic audience.
Oh, I see. So you choose, Huffington Post or BuzzFeed, and it depends on the publication as
Yeah, I
well. That's
mean,
what you say.
for example, the Guardian's very left leaning, and then you have the Telegraph, which is a bit more right leaning. So I think it's difficult because I think you always do have to be mindful of not ostracizing your customer base, right?
Mm,
Because people want to buy from businesses that they like and that have the same values as they
sure.
do. And I think that's becoming increasingly so, especially since coronavirus and people are aware they want to support small businesses that they believe in. So um, I understand that fear. And I guess it would just depend on the topic and what your views were.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is all we have for today, but thank you so much,
Oh, it's
Emma,
my
for
pleasure.
taking the time to speak to us and answer a few questions. There were some more questions now, but that's what we have for now. This is Emma Sheppard. You can find her in The Guardian and online. I don't know if you want to share at some point, if you want to put a comment there with your LinkedIn
Yeah,
profile. No pitching direct to Emma, or maybe that pitching is up to you if you receive pitches via
yeah. My
LinkedIn or
my
not.
um my direct messages are open on Twitter, so yeah, feel free to get in
Okay,
touch with me,
okay,
or if we haven't had time for your question, just drop me a message and I'll try and get back to you.
fantastic. Thank you for taking the time. I will continue with the presentation. Have a wonderful
Thank
afternoon.
you.
Okay, and thank you for helping
Bye.
us. Thank you very
Bye.
much. Okay, guys, so it's us now here. So we're going to continue. What did you guys think of it? Emma was brilliant. She answered lots of questions and everything that you were looking for. Do you have any more questions? Would you like to send any more questions? Can you write here in the comments, because I might be able to send to her if you send your questions there. So one of the things that we're going to do now is just continue with the presentation, because remember, it's about Emma today, and she answered lots of questions, and we have the challenge. So before we go to the challenge, remember, we are Guided PR and we get you in the media, and this is our normal price, okay? But for the challenge, we are giving discount, so we have a 20% discount, okay? So for 50 opportunities to be featured a year, it's £67 a month, or if you want unlimited, is £100 a month. And remember, we will also teach you how to write content, and every month there will be a different webinar teaching you how to pitch to Harvard Business Review, how to pitch to Fast Company. Next month, September, will be how to pitch to Forbes. Everybody asked that, so we are going to be doing that. Now, if you pay this is what you pay per year, 800 or 1,200, okay? These are the features that you get: access to the content platform. So the content is the one that I showed you, that has all the webinars teaching you how to do things. Access to the database, so you will see all the requests from the journalists there, and access to the guides. So they'll also be step-by-step just below the webinars, these step-by-step guides if you prefer to read, and you can attend live webinars as well. Now let's go to the challenge. What is going to be our challenge today? Let's see if you guys are going to take the challenge. Number one is you have to create your profile on guidedpr.com. If you haven't been taking the challenge this week, you will see that you will get this done already. Then number two is Ask Pete is the email, askpete.com. You're going to send him an email to let Pete know that you created your profile, okay? And Pete will add 5 spotlights. So you'll find 5 opportunities for you to reply to journalists. Then you need to reply to a journalist request. So now you know, because you created your bio, you saw how you reply, and if you created your profile, there is a webinar that teaches you exactly 5 types of requests from journalists, from top tips, writing an article, thought leadership article. There is different ways that you can reply. Once you reply, you can get to the print screen, and then you send to Pete and say, I reply to the journalist. The first person to do that, I'll go back so you can see, create your profile, email Ask Pete, let him know you created, then you reply to a journalist request in the platform, and then you send an email to Pete and say, Pete, so I have replied. Who is Pete? you must be asking, right? Do you guys know who Pete is? So Pete is a peacock. So Pete is our mascot, and he will reply to you. Okay, so this is the challenge. What do you get if you complete the challenge? First, what do you get? What do you get? What do you get? You win an interview in a magazine. This is what you get. You will be interviewed by a journalist and you will get featured in high-profile magazine. Do you want to be featured? So go and start that right now. Now, we also, if you want to become a member, we're going to give further discount in the next 24 hours. You only pay either 680 or £1,000. Okay, if you want to go unlimited. Remember, this is for 12 months. So that means you could be featured as many times as you want. If you send your comments, you have to log into the platform and send your comments, and we'll train you how to do that. Okay, now let's get to the prize. So what I'm going to do, remember, just by turning up and showing off, you will get a prize. How do you do that? Did you put your name and your website there? Did you put your name and your website there? Did you? Let me see. Guys, can you write your name? You still have time. So Danielle can get your name and your website to put in the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a prize that you get just by turning up to the webinar. What do you want to get? Right now. So I'll give you, remember, I will count to see who is live, who put the name. Let me just see who put their names there. Okay, so I will give you one, and I'm going to count until 5. I will give you until 2. So you can put your name and your website there. So Danielle can get your name and your website to put in the Wheel of Fortune, so we know if you are going to win the prize now. Do you want to win the prize right now? Please, please, please. I'm gonna count until 3. Come on, guys. Put your name and your website there. If you want to become a peacock, you really need to show up and show off. So I need to know who you are, because we have loads and loads of people watching, but they're shy. Yeah, I think they're owls. They're hiding. Okay, so they are owls and they are hiding. I want these owls to become peacocks and show up. Let me see your names. And I'm going to count until 4. And then if you don't, 4, I'll give you 4. Okay, Marta showed up. Good. And then you have Janet. Come on, I want to see you all putting your names there, name and email. And once I give you 5, that's the end. You don't have any more chance to win. So make sure that you are there, put your name and your website so Danielle can get your details and she can put on the Wheel of Fortune. Now, Danielle, I gave you 5. So let's see. I am going to bring on the screen now. So Danielle is going to be sharing with me her screen. Let me just see. It's coming, and it's coming. So let me bring that up, and then I will count until 3. I will disappear from the screen. So let me remove this caption, so you can see the wheel with the names there. And I'm going to disappear. She will spin. You will see who the winner is. And boom. Oh, the prize. What is the prize? I'll tell you. Danielle for that. Okay, Dexter. Well, what you get is a feature on our blog. Okay, just by showing up and turning up, you are here with us. We will write about your business on our blog. We are growing and growing. Our website gets about 5,000 views on a monthly basis now, and we have blog posts being posted on a weekly basis, which means you can have a lot of visibility. So well done. High five, whoop, whoop. High five to Dexter Moscow, who showed up and showed off. And he was also our guest on Tuesday about videos. Did you enjoy this, guys? So give me some love. Let me please tell me, did you enjoy this? I need to know if I should do this again. Would you like me to do this again? If you just write again, let me see, who would like to talk to another journalist and ask questions and discuss your profile, how you get featured? Yes, yes, yes. Let me see. If you just write again, if you write that again, then I might do that once again. Yes, 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 yes. I feel lonely, being just in front of the camera and nobody participating and sharing and give me some love. It's hard. And oh my God, it takes a lot of energy to be here, But I'll do that for you guys. Absolutely. Again, it's coming. Good. It's coming. Brilliant. So high five, guys. Thank you for turning up today. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thank you, Emma, once again for being here with us. And tomorrow is our last day and is a super surprise. You're going to be getting an email as a surprise because you will learn how you can combine the surprise. Watch out for an email from me today so you can learn tomorrow. Well done, Dexter. You're going to be featured in our blog, and the first one to complete the challenge will be featured in High Profile Magazine. Thank you so much, everyone, and bye-bye.